Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm back with the original narrator's voice since it's suddenly working. Also hi to Sniper Mask and my friends in Discord hehe, but anyway, sit back, relax, and enjoy your dose of SakuAtsu. Where have you been? Sakusa was casually leaning against the wall outside Atsumu's apartment as he waited for the faux blonde. He's been waiting for at least 30 minutes. I had some errands to run? Errands for the past 3 days? Are you ignoring me again? Atsumu faked a gasp and cupped Sakusa's cheek, caressing it softly. What? No? That's awful, darling. Why would you even think that? So where have you been and why weren't you answering? I was worried, you know. I told you, I ran some errands. By errands, do you mean going to my house to see my mom? A bashful smile appeared on Atsumu's face while he opened the door to let his boyfriend in. Well. Hehe. Don't hehe me. What happened? I just passed by to give your mom food. And? Atsumu shrugged and sat down the couch, tapping the empty space beside him. The ravenette plopped down the couch and the faux blonde was instantly sprawled across his chest as they cuddled. Nothing much, she didn't come out to see me. I just gave everything to the butler. You didn't tell me you had a butler. You didn't ask. Okay, do you have a private jet? Who do you think I am? Iron Man? Atsumu gasped. Did you just make a joke? Sakusa rolled his eyes and flicked on the blonde's forehead. Your personality's rubbing on me. It's your fault. Am I like a bad influence? Yes. The setter chuckled and closed his eyes, feeling Sakusa's fingers running through his hair. Maybe that's why your mom hates me. She doesn't hate you. She just hates the two of us together. A comfortable silence filled the room. Sakusa couldn't say anything because he knew Atsumu was right. His mother wanted him to marry into a rich family for business purposes, but he didn't want that. Marriage wasn't even on his mind yet. He wanted to take things slow, but at the same time, he saw a future with Atsumu and he wanted that future. Omi-kun? Yeah? What's your family like? My family? The ravenette thought for a while. What was his family like? Honestly, I couldn't remember much, but I had a pretty much happy childhood. Not really happy. I was usually alone with the maids and the butler, but I had everything. I was enrolled in different classes for extracurricular activities. That kept me company because both my parents were busy. But my dad would always make time for me. He said that I was gonna be the heir of the company and I was happy. I felt important. My mom and I weren't close, but she looked after me when she had time. The same with my siblings since they were busy with school. Despite their busy schedules, they both loved each other deeply and I felt that. I thought, someday, I want to love like that too. He looked down at Atsumu with a soft smile that left a faint blush on the blonde's cheeks. And then my dad fell ill when I was 9. He had cancer. My mom was devastated. She wasn't the same person she was before. I thought things would go back to normal, but then my father passed away. I was 14. Since then, I felt like I was walking on a tightrope. My mom set me up with the Ushijima group. That's when I met Wakatashi-kun. We instantly became friends. Atsumu tensed up a little, remembering the phone call from 3 days ago. He didn't tell Sakusa about the incident partly because he didn't want him to worry. Sakusa felt him tense up, but Atsumu brushed it off with an understanding look. It's okay, go on. Where was I? Oh yeah, so that was it. We became friends and eventually we dated for a while. He was the only one who understood what I felt that time. Our parents were happy, but it was only because they wanted to grow the business. I thought I found love, but I didn't feel anything. I'm glad Toshi-kun and I met, but he was just a friend, nothing more. So we broke up. Toshi-kun. I see that you're not on first name basis with Kiyomi yet. Ashijima's words rang inside Atsumu's head and it made him upset that he glared at the wall across them. Our parents were upset, but it was fine. They didn't really do anything, until that day in the cafe. I honestly don't know what's going on, but I hope they'd leave us alone. I'm really happy now. And why are you glaring at the wall, Mia? Atsumu's head snapped at Sakusa. He was glaring at him instead. Oi, what's wrong? Don't call me that. Call you what? Mia? Isn't that your last name? Yeah, and? Sakusa chuckled and pulled him closer as he whispered, do you want me to call you Sakusa then? Yeah, sure, call me A. Oh. He was so annoyed that he answered unknowingly before he realized what he said. Sakusa's deep laughter filled the room. It's music to Atsumu's ears, but this time, it pissed him off more than it should. Hey, stop laughing? Atsumu Sakusa has a nice ring to it, don't you think? No, I mean yes, of course it does. But no. Ugh, stop confusing me. Are you proposing? He held Atsumu's chin and looked him straight in the eyes. I will propose eventually, but not now. The wide eyes Atsumu, with face as red as a cherry tomato, pushed him away and hid his face in his hands. It was a rhetorical question? SakuAtsu's laughter filled the room once again, but this time, Atsumu wasn't annoyed. His laughter calmed him down as he felt calloused fingers pulling him gently. Hey, love, I won't call you Mia anymore, okay? No, it's okay. Ugh, fuck you Ushijima. Atsumu angrily huffed to himself, but it didn't go unnoticed to SakuAtsu. Ushijima? Did something happen? Oops, busted. Well. Atsumu ended up telling him everything, from the beginning of the phone call to how he ended up calling Osamu over to ease his panic attack. This time, it was SakuAtsu who looked pissed. He was scowling again like he did a few months back. It doesn't say anything at all, so don't think about it, okay? I won't. And tell me if something like this happens again, Sumo. SakuAtsu looked so worried, but Atsumu couldn't help but smile. I will, Omi-kun. Ah, good morning, sir. Hi, it's me again, and you can call me Atsumu, sir. Atsumu waved. The butler, who grew accustomed to Atsumu's daily visits, smiled at him and bowed respectfully. I was somewhat expecting for your visit, Atsumu. Ha, I brought food again. This is for you, sir. Oh, you shouldn't have. Thank you. The faux blonde handed him a bag of onigiri, fresh from his twin's store, before giving him another bag for Mrs. SakuAtsu. And this one is for Mrs. SakuAtsu. I'll see to it that she gets to eat this. Thank you, Atsumu. You're a very kind young man. In most days where Atsumu didn't feel insecure, he was pretty much confident. He handled himself well enough that he enjoyed socializing almost way too much. But in front of the SakuAtsu's butler, he felt oddly shy. In a good way, of course. There was something comforting about him. He was like a father figure, or perhaps maybe a kind grandpa. Ajisen, thank you. The faux blonde blurted out, which shocked the older man. Atsumu himself looked shocked. I'm sorry, sir? The butler laughed, the sides of his eyes crinkling. It's all right, you can call me that. I don't mind. You're very interesting, Atsumu. Would you like a drink before you go? Atsumu felt like he shouldn't, since he has a date with his Omi, but he couldn't say no to Ajisen's kind smile. After all the drama that's going on, it's been a while since someone was this kind towards him. Hell, he even wanted to hug the old man in front of him. The butler reminded him of his own dad, and that made Atsumu happy. If it's alright with you, sir, Ajisen, Sir Ajisen. Atsumu awkwardly laughed, but this only made the old man chuckle in amusement. He stepped aside and guided the faux blonde to the sofa to wait. Please do come inside, you can sit and wait here while I get the drinks. Can I help? Oh no, it's alright, you're a guest, I'll be back. He smiled and left Atsumu all alone. Before anything, he sent a text to Omi saying that he had somewhere to go and that he'd be a little late. He then closed his phone and looked around at the elegant interior of the house. It was spacious and clean. Everything looked fancy yet simple at the same time. Surprisingly, he found picture frames displayed in the room. Atsumu's curiosity got the best of him, and so he walked towards the table and examined the photos one by one. He saw a photo of Omi wearing a traditional Japanese yukata. He looked like he was 10 years old, with a small awkward smile, dark curly hair, and of course, the ever-so-famous moles on his forehead. On another frame was a picture of the Spiker's siblings, and on another was a picture of his parents. When SakuAtsu said that they were in love, they really were in love. It was evident in the photos that were displayed in the room. The look in his parents' eyes was familiar to Atsumu because it was the same look SakuAtsu gave him. His heart clenched at the thought of Mrs. SakuAtsu enduring the pain of losing a loved one. If it were Atsumu, he didn't think he would survive such heartbreak. If SakuAtsu's father survived his cancer, things would probably turn out differently. What are you doing here? A sudden voice startled Atsumu, and when he turned around, he was more surprised to see Omi's mother. He couldn't say that the butler let him in, otherwise Ajisen would be in trouble as well. I just came here to deliver something, ma'am. I'll be on my way. Atsumu stuttered and bowed. He was about to make his exit, but Mrs. SakuAtsu blocked his way. Where is Mr. Toshiro, and who let you in? Are you trespassing? No, ma'am, I wasn't. I just really had to deliver something. Almost just on cue, the butler, Mr. Toshiro, entered the room with a tray of onigiri, the one Atsumu bought, and a glass of cold tea. Atsumu. He stopped on his tracks when he saw Mrs. SakuAtsu and bowed at her politely. Good morning, madam. You're home early. Yes, I left something. What is going on here? Atsumu felt his heart in his ears. He was terrified that Mr. Toshiro would get in trouble because of him. Please don't fire him? The butler was about to explain, but Atsumu cut him off. I brought food, ma'am, and Ajisen was just kind enough to offer me a drink. I will leave. Please don't get him in trouble. It was all my fault. Food? She raised a brow and looked at Mr. Toshiro with a bewildered look. The kind old man just smiled. The onigiri you were so fond of, madam. Oh, I see. A soft look of realization appeared on her face as quickly as it went. She turned to Atsumu and sighed, rubbing her temple, the same way Kiyomi does when he was displeased. And stop yelling this early in the morning. Atsumu eagerly nodded. Is there anything I can get for you, madam? No, it's fine. I'll go get it. You have a guest to attend to. Thank you for having me, ma'am. Mrs. SakuAtsu gazed at Atsumu from head to toe, and Atsumu couldn't help but feel a little bit insecure. If looks could kill, Atsumu would have been dead by now. You're not my guest. I did not invite you in my home, but Mr. Toshiro did. Thank him, not me. Yes, ma'am. I hope you enjoy the food I bought. Atsumu's face was beaming with joy despite his heart hammering in his chest. He was just happy enough that Mrs. SakuAtsu didn't force him out of the house. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she made her way towards her study, but she stopped for a moment and glanced back at Atsumu. Why are you doing this? Bringing food and other gifts? I just want to let you know that your permission is very important to me and that I want to assure you that Omi's in good hands. I know you don't see me worthy enough, but I do love your son. That's why, I'll always do my best so that you won't have any other choice but to give Omi-kun to me. She didn't say anything. She just eyed him with a blank expression, but Atsumu swore that he saw a curt nod. Before she left the room, she acknowledged him. It was a small gesture, but it assured Atsumu that sooner or later, SakuAtsu Kiyomi was truly going to be his. SakuAtsu groaned and plopped down the bed beside Atsumu. He's been irritable since he got that phone call earlier this morning. What's wrong, Omi-kun? He reached for Atsumu and buried his face at the crook of the blonde's neck, getting drunk from his comforting smell. Tired. You're such a big baby. His fingers instantly dived through Omi's soft curls that he tried to straighten up, but just like the owner, his hair is never straight. Hehe, no pun intended. My mom is a big baby. A bad one. What do you mean? It's my dad's death anniversary and as usual, she's locking herself in her room again. Oh, why don't you go talk to her? She doesn't talk to anyone whenever she's like this. It'll go away after a week. I just can't help but worry every time this happens. Omi-kun, let's go to your house. Huh, but why? Let's just go, trust me. After a long drive and a stop at the convenience store, they found themselves in front of the SakuAtsu household, with a box of chocolates and a bottle of vodka. Young master, Atsumu. Ajisen, is Mrs. SakuAtsu around? Ajisen? Mr. Toshiro laughed and shrugged it off while Atsumu hid behind the old man, a bashful smile on his face. Good morning to you too, young master. And yes, Atsumu, she's in her room, but I'm afraid she won't be taking visitors as of the moment. Atsumu? Since when did you two get so close? Is it possible for me to see her? I'm afraid not, but please do come in. Are you two just going to ignore me? The two entered the house, leaving SakuAtsu, with mouth agape, outside. Omi-kun, what are you standing there for? Come on. SakuAtsu pursed his lips and followed them without complaint. There's no denying that his inner child, the one that's been spoiled rotten, would show from time to time. They sat on the couch, Atsumu rubbing his boyfriend's back with his free hand. SakuAtsu Kiyomi is such a clingy baby. I'll go fetch the refreshments. Please don't go upstairs, to the left side and the first door at the end of the alley. Madam is currently resting there. He winked at Atsumu and quietly left the room. Oh wow. Atsumu chuckled and silently thanked the old man for helping him since day one. He took the chocolates and vodka from SakuAtsu and gave him a chaste kiss. Omi-kun, you stay here. I'll go talk to your mom. What about me? Why can't I go? You'll pick a fight with your mom again. Stay here and be good. Be good? You think I'll make a scene in my own house? Yes. Fine. But hey, if anything happens, call me. He said in a much more serious tone. Atsumu smiled and nodded at him before following Mr. Toshiro's instructions. A few minutes later, he stood in front of Mrs. SakuAtsu's decorated mahogany door. The faux blonde took a deep breath and knocked, but as expected, no one answered. That didn't stop him from knocking and calling out to Mrs. SakuAtsu. "What do you want?" A loud voice croaked at the other side of the door, causing Atsumu to jolt a little. "Ma'am, it's me, Atsumu. Leave me alone. Why are you in my house? I'll call the police. If you do that, Omi-kun's going to hate you for the rest of your life. Do you want that?" Silence echoed from the other side, and Atsumu was scared that she actually called the police. "I just want to talk. I won't tell Omi-kun, I swear." The door slowly creaked open, and there revealed the great Mrs. SakuAtsu, who looked so much different than her usual self. Her hair, in contrast with her neatly styled hairdo, was disheveled all over the place with wild curls bouncing. Her eyes looked sunken and dark, much different from the fierce fox eyes that judged Atsumu's whole being. In short, she looked like a mess. "What do you want?" she sneered. "May I come in?" She looked at him with a scowl on her messed up, yet still pretty, face. Atsumu innocently shrugged and slowly walked away, taunting her. "I guess that's a no. I'll go tell Omi then that you tried to call the police on me, brat." He pulled Atsumu's wrist and dragged him in her room. His taunting worked, and his victory was shown from the smug smile on his face. "What do you want? You already have my son." Nothing really, I just want to talk." He sat down the floor, his back rested against her bed as he opened the box of chocolates and a bottle of vodka. "Drink?" The older SakuAtsu crossed her arms and looked at Atsumu as if he lost all his senses, which she thought he did. But he wouldn't budge, so she basically had no choice. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. So she sat a meter or two beside Atsumu, leaning her head against the side of her bed, and groaned. Atsumu cleared his throat and took a swing from the bottle of vodka. "I lost my dad when I was 16. It was hard for the family, but it was harder for my mom. Are you here to tell your sob story?" "Yes, so you listen. Here, have some chocolates." He handed her a box, and to his surprise, she actually took it. "Where was I before you rudely interrupted me?" Mrs. SakuAtsu rolled her eyes. She eyed Atsumu, but he looked like he wasn't starting unless she answered. She sighed and rubbed her temple. "Your mom had a hard time when your dad died." "Oh yeah, thank you. She locked herself in her room, especially during my dad's death anniversary. But after a day or two, she's back to being the best mother in the world. She took care of my twin and I, and she made sure we were loved. She wanted us to have a good future, the best future, even. And she gave us just that by just being there when we needed her. Now, I'm a professional volleyball player and my twin has an onigiri shop. We're success and happy thanks to my mom." Atsumu smiled at her softly. "I'm not saying I agree with your method, but I know you love Omi-kun." She snatched the bottle from Atsumu and took a big swing. "He hates me. My son hates me." "Pfft. He doesn't hate you. He hates that you won't listen to him. You don't know him, but I do. Do you know how he likes his coffee?" "Of course I do. With sugar and creamer. Black." "Do you know what's his favorite food?" "Curry. He loves that when he was younger." "Umbashi. Do you know what he's allergic to?" "I don't know. What are you up to?" "Kiwi." "What I'm trying to say is, you know Omi as a kid, but not the Kiyomi now. Have you even tried to reach out to him?" She took another swing from the vodka. "No. Have you ever asked him what he wants?" "Yeah, well. Really? Shut up." She scowled at him again, but Atsumu just chuckled. "You know, the resemblance is very uncanny. I think he even got your attitude." Mrs. SakuAtsu sighed and popped a chocolate in her mouth. "Kiyomi is a bitch sometimes. You can be a bitch sometimes too, you know." For the first time, Mrs. SakuAtsu laughed and turned her head to Atsumu, who was laughing as well. Once the laughter died down, Mrs. SakuAtsu laid her head back and closed her eyes shut. She whispered in a quiet voice, one that broke Atsumu's heart. I just want what's best for my Kiyo. All my kids are different. But Kiyo is something else. He's my youngest after all, plus he's so much younger than the two. I felt like my Kiyo was running behind his siblings. I didn't want him to feel left out. I wanted him to be at par with them." Fresh tears, as clear as glass, trickled down her face, but she kept her eyes close, shoulders relaxed. The perfectionist Mrs. SakuAtsu Himiko let herself cry. She let herself feel vulnerable. "All I want is for my kids to be happy and secured." "Then go talk to him. Tell him how you feel and listen." She looked at Atsumu again and saw how tears freely ran down his face as well. Mrs. Himiko couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Why are you crying? How can I entrust my son to a crybaby?" "What? I'm not crying. The faux blonde quickly wiped his tears and put on a strong manly facade for her, but this only made her laugh more. Atsumu was one of those rare people who are sensitive to feelings. Similar to a baby, when someone cries, he cries. When someone is happy, he's happy. Sometimes people would say that it's a weakness, but to Atsumu, it was his strength, to be able to relate to others and understand how other people feel. And Mrs. SakuAtsu was glad she was able to see eye to eye with an amazing person such as Atsumu. Omi-kun is succeeding on his own. I have a brother too, a twin. He's succeeding in terms of culinary and I'm succeeding in terms of sports. And I think Omi-kun is like that. He's succeeding in sports. Have you seen him play? She lowered her head, ashamed at the fact that she never once acknowledged his youngest son's talent. You know what? That doesn't matter. Go to our game a week from now. I'll send a ticket for you and Ajisen. I would love that. Thank you. She held his hand in hers and smiled at him. Atsumu, please continue to be there for my Kyo. I've seen how you've been so consistent and I've seen how much you two love each other. It reminded me of my husband. So please, be there for him. I hope you can forgive me for everything. Atsumu was too happy that he pulled her into a tight embrace and broke down into heaps of tears. Thank you. I promise, I will take care of Omi. She rubbed his back before they pulled away. He didn't know if it was from the chocolate or vodka, but he was beyond grateful. Eventually, they stayed like that for a while. Before she pulled away and smiled at him. Now go and let me mourn my husband, you brat. Atsumu laughed and nodded. Both their tear-stained faces lit up, their hearts became lighter. I'll leave these here in case you need some company, but don't finish it all. I won't. Have a great day, Atsumu. With a bright smile, the faux blonde bowed respectfully before making his way towards the door. He shut the door quietly behind him, leaning against it as he sighed in contentment. Finally, it felt like he was floating in cloud nine and he honestly wanted to stay there forever. It has been a hard journey, but things are coming into place and he couldn't wait to tell his boyfriend the best news. For the record, SakuAtsu said softly, his eyes bright with tears as he looked at Atsumu with love and adoration. I'm not allergic to kiwi. Atsumu was startled, but once everything sank in, he threw himself at SakuAtsu, arms securely wrapped around the spiker's neck. Instantly, SakuAtsu's arms snaked around his lover's torso as they held each other in a tight embrace. Omi-kun, he pulled away, looking his lover in the eyes. I love you too. He didn't respond to SakuAtsu's declaration of love during their date, but this time, they were finally reading the same chapter, the same page, at the same time. So that was it. I'll be ending the series with a part 6, so keep your calendars marked. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. See you on my next video.